Welcome, football fans, to another edition of IDP Plus Bets. I'm your host, as always, the Degen Doc here. And look, folks, we are on the UFL United Football League Week 10, the final week of the regular season there for the United Football League. Hey, we're coming in hot. This is episode 7. The last week, we're breaking down all the games and, of course, going to give you my best bets. And we're coming off a very, very nice week where we didn't miss a bet last week. 3-0-1. We had the over. And let's go ahead and check out these week 9 scores real quick as we recap. So we had the over in the St. Louis and the Arlington Renegades game. And the best cash of the week. Not only was the lock of the week, the San Antonio Brahmas catching the 8.5, but we said, you know what? San Antonio plus 340 on the money line. The Brahmas had a dominant performance on defense, and they said, keep your damn points, giving the Birmingham Stallions their first loss in like what seems like 3 years, 2.5 years, forever. Great play there. DC made easy work, and Michigan really had to do some work to come from behind to to push the -4. So again, we had a hell of a week last week there where we did not lose on our best bets. Obviously 3-0-1, really 4-0-1 if you were able to go ahead and sprinkle on that San Antonio Brahmas money line. So we're riding hot. So we're going to look to continue that here in week 10, folks. Listen, it's going to be a short episode. Obviously, another episode, another location, as you can see down here, at a bachelor party for my boys. So we're going to make this short and sweet, but I had to get it in for you guys because, look, we didn't lose last week, and I'm not trying to lose this week. So I really feel good about week 10 as well. And let's go ahead and take a look at week 10 here. So we have really Saturday is the kind of preview of the playoffs, right? So you've got Michigan and Birmingham taking place, probably going to be in the same location. These playoffs are set. They've been set for 2 weeks. It's going to be Michigan taking on Birmingham, most likely in Birmingham. And then you have San Antonio taking on St. Louis. And that one's a little bit more up in the air. And then Sunday, we got Arlington taking on DC. And then really the toilet bowl, the both 1-8, Houston and Memphis wrapping up for the Sunday as the last regular season game. So still things to play for. As far as for that first game, really, it would be tough for Michigan to go ahead. Not only do they have to win by at least 23 points to clinch home field advantage, which they actually can't play at Ford Field due to an event already taking place. So that really game is going to be in Birmingham no matter what. But again, Michigan would have to win by at least 23 to even get that top seed, which is pretty unlikely there. And then you have for the XFL, it's pretty simple. Winner gets home field advantage, right? Is the playoff game going to be in that dome in St. Louis, or is it going to be in San Antonio in the Alamo Dome? So definitely still things to play for. But in the same token, do you want to show all your cards as you're going to play these teams going into the next week? So let's get right into it with the Michigan Panthers heading over to Birmingham to take on the Stallions. The Stallions coming off their first loss in what seems like forever. As always, let's go ahead and start with the injury report and then zoom in from there. So Michigan definitely the more beat up side on the ball there, starting with Birmingham. Really, they're only down their starting linebacker, DeMarcus Gates, who was really getting picked on against San Antonio with the running backs and kind of tight ends and, in the flat routes and things like that. So obviously he is a starter. You know Shark Dog for the rest of the year. Tizino is a good player, but, Gates is a bit of a loss, but he was a bit of getting a little bit of a liability last week. And then Michigan's really, they're as much as their injury report often looks like a CVS receipt, it is not that bad, but key guys, starting safety, Corian Ballard, Marcus Sims, one of the fastest, most electric wide receivers in the league. He's out. And then running back Matt Colburn's out. Wes Hills, their starting running back for the year, is already out for the year on IR. So with Colburn out, they're going to be on running back number 3. So that does give a little bit of an issue there as far as, hey, we're really on running back 3. They're missing their wide receiver 1. And who's going to play quarterback? Now, there's been some talks about EJ Perry coming back. So we don't have the depth chart for this game, but we do have the depth chart for the next Saturday game. We've got the injury report. We know who's going to be playing, but quarterback's still a question. Do you go Etling? Is Perry good enough to be back? Is Perkins good? He's looked like the best guy, but really, I don't think it matters in this game. Give me Birmingham coming off their first loss in what seems like forever. The spread there is Birmingham -8. Over under is 43.5. So I'm riding with Birmingham. They won 20-13 last time they played. I just think that, Michigan's a little bit beat up. They're not fully ready for this game. And I don't think that, with not having their best foot forward, they're not going to really try to bring all the tricks out of the bag for this one. And I think Birmingham's pissed off. They lost to the first time again in what seems like forever. I think they're the better team, and I think they get it done. So give me Birmingham to cover the 8 there. Moving on to the San Antonio St. Louis game. We've got, again, preview of the playoffs for next week. You got San Antonio at 7-2, St. Louis at 6-3. St. Louis is favored by 2.5 at home, and the over/under is 42.5. Injury report wise, we do have your depth chart here that we can take a look at. Biggest things to take away: San Antonio, no John Levitt or Anthony McFarland, so they're bound their RB3. Morgan Ellison's gonna have to step up, and their D line is a little bit beat up. On the St. Louis side, they're actually getting healthier. O-line's getting healthier, and they get AJ McCarron back. Now, he did practice in a limited fashion, so they're going to throw him out here. Obviously, I don't think he's 100%. With his ankle, his mobility may be a little bit limited. There is a little bit of a re-injury risk, but they feel like he's good enough to throw him out there. They want home field advantage enough. So, really, in this one, now all these games have been played before. So this was 31-24 St. Louis in San Antonio last time they played. I do think they're two different teams at this point in the season. But as far as a side, side is really where I think this gets a little hairy. I think if San Antonio, I really like San Antonio. Obviously, talking about them last week at one of the only teams that could go and beat Birmingham. I mean, the only team this season that beat Birmingham, at least so far. So I do like the San Antonio team because their defense, best scoring defense. They were dominant, held the best offense in the UFL to just 9 points last week. Really love their defense, but their offense being beat up. They did get Chase Garbers back last week. He did look good, very efficient, but they lost Cody Latimer for the year with a bad neck injury. And then, they're down there to top 2 running backs. So if I had to pick a side, I would sprinkle San Antonio money line at the plus 124, but I really feel better about the under 42.5. We got a situation where San Antonio's out there starting tight end. They're out there top 2 running backs. You got AJ McCarron coming back with a bit of a limitation with his ankle. So I just think that both these defenses are good. And I think that it's just going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game. So give me the under 42.5 as my favorite bet for this one. All right, folks, we're already halfway through. So that means you get a nice little read from about our sponsors. And why don't we tell you about IDP League's Draft Night Out. So you're already got Fantasy Football Expo the weekend of the August 9th through the 11th on your calendar. Well, let's give you another reason to go ahead and get out there. So go ahead and head out to the Fantasy Football Expo. And on Saturday, August 10th, at the Brew Kettle next to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we're going to have a drafting extravaganza for the first time ever. IDP Plus is hosting an IDP league. So make sure you're part of history. Check out the link in the show description. Also, make sure you check out our friends over at Trophy Smack. Draft season's upon us, and they are the only ones who have an IDP expansion pack. So they're tailor-made for us defensive nerds. So again, in the show notes, make sure you check out both of those. All right, folks, I told you it was going to be a fast and furious episode, so we're already on to the Sunday games there. So we are starting off with the Arlington Renegades taking on DC. Arlington at 2-7, DC at 4-5. DC is laying 2 at home. Over under is 46.5. They played this game, I think it was week 3, and Arlington lost by a point. They were up by 10 with 2 minutes left to go. It was really one of those weird, how do you lose this game? But that's what Arlington did. At least they did it earlier in the season. Now they looking at the injury reports here, Arlington's pretty healthy. Really, the biggest concern is if Sal Cannella and Tyler Vaughn's 2 best players on offense outside of Luis Perez, the GOAT of the spring there. They're both limited, but they did play last week. I do expect them to play. DC side, their secondary is a little beat up with Michael Joseph there and safety Kentrell Bryce. So, but otherwise, mostly healthy. We should see the teams at pretty much full form. And at full form, go ahead and give me the Arlington Renegades +2, +120 on the money line. I just think that Arlington is figuring out ways to actually win now. Their offense was always good. They were always, top 2, 3 in the league. But their defense is actually looking formidable. And I just don't trust DC O-line struggles. Sometimes they look like they're ready to play ball. Other times they just have no idea what they're doing. Jordan Ta'amu's had some troubles with some turnovers this year. I just don't think they are consistent in their offense, and I think that their defense has a tendency to let up big plays. I really like the way Arlington's playing. I think Arlington revenges that game where they really, really should have beat DC. They really, again, up by 10 with 2 minutes. So give me Arlington on the money line and +2. And then finally, your last game. Listen, I tried looking so long for a graphic for this game. I don't think it's made right now. But if we go over here, we can see that, hey, it's not just your regular toilet bowl. It was announced that the winner of this game is going to get the first overall pick in next year's draft. So there is something to play for in this game. And I'm talking about the Houston Renegades versus Roughnecks, Houston Roughnecks versus the Memphis Showboats, both at 1-8. Memphis is at home and they're catching 2 points. They are the underdog. Over under is 44.5. Take a look at the injury reports real quick. Biggest things, is Kirk Merritt back? Maybe the return of Kirk Merritt. They're beat up on the O-line and CBs, and the cornerbacks are a little bit beat up there. Memphis, looks like everyone's practicing. Biggest news is Josh Love, QB3 to start the year, is going to get the start. He looked okay. Really, for me, it's just, how do you trust anybody behind that Memphis offensive line? They're just awful between their defense and their offensive line. I mean, if their offensive line is bad, their defense is worse. It's just, you cannot trust them. So, hey, I mean, they played this game in week 1. Memphis, it was their only win, 18-12. They did beat them, but I think Houston's playing better. They may get the return of Kirk Merritt as well. Nolan Henderson, he's the dual threat guy. So give me Houston. I actually really like Houston this week to go ahead and finish the season off strong. They've got some solid players. It's like for 3.5 quarters, they look like a good team. It's just stuff falls apart. But if they're going to not blow a lead to one team, it's going to be Memphis. So give me the Roughnecks -2. Really, really like that play. Also the under 45 in that game. All right, folks, we did it. Fast and furious. Quick recap here. So in this first game, I like Birmingham -8. Give me the Stallions there. In the second game, give me the under 42.5 is my favorite play. Also, sprinkle San Antonio. I like San Antonio. Just some of their pieces aren't there. So the under is a strong play there. Next game, Arlington +2 on the money line. I think Arlington gets it done. And honestly, hate to say it, but my favorite play, Houston -2. I think Houston ends the season with a W. Also like the under in that game. All right, folks, as always, appreciate you checking her out. Hey, this is the tune-up for the playoffs. Again, we did not miss a bet last week. That's what we're looking for this week. So for now, I'm out of here. Doc out of here. Have a great week. Let's cash some money.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.